Today we're going to be talking about two things. The first thing in this first video you're going to be watching is about approximating square roots. And so your objective today, I will utilize my mathematical ability to approximate square roots through class discussion. Let's go ahead and get started. Okay, before we really get into square roots and what they are, we need to talk about something we are referred to as perfect squares. Okay, a perfect square is simply a number I can square. So like 1 squared is 1. 2 squared is 4. Okay, as we go down the line, 3 squared is 9. And we have 16, 25, okay, 36, 49, 64. We come over here, we have 9 squared is 81. Then we have 100, 121, 144, okay, 169, 196, 225, and 256. Okay, remember a square, if I have x squared, all that simply means is I have x times x. Okay? And it's perfect because I'm taking a whole number, okay, a whole number, and I'm squaring it, or I'm multiplying it by itself. Okay? That's where we get the term the perfect square, because each side is perfectly one whole number. So either it's 4 or it's 12. Oh, this is 13. You should have a 13 squared here. Okay? Alright, so this needs to be in your notes. Alright, because this is going to help you on your lesson for today. Okay, so if I have a number squared, so if I want to know the square root of x, okay, this looks like division. It's not, though. Alright? It's kind of a check mark looking box. This is the square root symbol. Square rooting is simply the opposite of squaring a number. Okay? So, remember I said x squared took me to a number n, or some number, right? Well, if I want to go back this way, I'm going to take a square root. Okay? For example, we know that from the slide before that, let's pick a number, let's go with 12, okay? If I have 12 squared, okay, 12 squared is going to equal 144. Make sense? Okay, now, if I want to know what the square roots of 144 is, okay, I'm going backwards. Okay, think to yourself, what two numbers, when I multiply them together, they have to be identical. Okay, got me to 144. Well, that would be 12. Now, here's the thing to remember. Okay, could I have a negative 12 here? Okay, if I square a negative 12, so I have negative 12 times a negative 12, doesn't that equal a positive 44, or a positive 144? Okay. Same if I would have gone 12 times 12, that would also have equaled a positive 144. Correct? So, my answer to a square root problem is going to be positive or negative. Okay? And we write that as positive or negative. Okay? So, technically, it's a positive or negative 12, because I haven't specified what my answer is yet. Okay? So, basically a square root is simply the opposite of squaring a number. So we go back to that last slide. Okay? We go back to the slide that we had the perfect squares. If I square root any of these numbers, Okay? Their answer is going to be the base of my power. So square root of 196 is 14. Square root of 256 is 16. Okay? Square root of 49 is 7. That's all we're talking about with square roots. Now, do all numbers fit in these nice, neat patterns? No. Because what if I want to know what the square root of 10 was? Or the square root of 20? Okay? It's not going to be nice and neat on here, is it? It's not. Okay? So what we have to do is we have to approximate it. Well, how do we do that? Let's look. Okay, I'm going to approximate these square roots to the nearest integer. Well, I'm looking for the perfect square. Okay, what perfect square does 10 sit in? Well, I know it sits between the square root of 9, okay, and the square root of 16. Okay, so square root of 10 is going to fall somewhere between these two numbers. Now my question to you, which one is it closer to? Is it closer to 9 or is it closer to 16? Well, looking at this one, I know that square root of 10 is only 1 away from 9, whereas 6 away from 16. So I'm going to say it is closer to the square root of 9. Well, if I look at my perfect square chart, the square root of 9 is 3. Okay? So I would say the square root of 10 is approximately equal to, notice how my equal sign has changed, it's squiggly lines, okay, is approximately equal to 3. Alright? So let's do 200. Looking at that chart, okay, the square root of 200 is close to 196, okay, and 225. Now, same question. Square root of 200, okay, is it closer to 196 or is it closer to 225? In this situation, it's going to be closer to 196. Well, the square root of 196 is 14. Okay, so the square root of 200 is approximately equal to 14. Okay, for right now, all we're doing is we're approximating to the nearest integer. Okay, I'm not taking you guys into decimals yet. All right, so let's talk about the steps real quick, because I'm not going to tell you or write down the steps. I want you guys to write them down as we go through. So let's talk about the steps as we go through here. Okay, so I have a negative square root. Okay, I want to know what the negative square root of 148 is approximately equal to. Well, the first thing I have to do is determine the two square roots that is between. Okay, it's between the square root of 144 and it's between 169. Okay, negative, because we're talking about a negative number here. I know that because I have a negative sign in front of the radical. This is called a radical. Okay, it's radical. It's weird. All right. So now I need to look at where the negative square root of 148 goes. If my pen will work, there we go. Okay. Is it closer to 148 or is it closer to 169? Well, in this situation, it's closer to 148 or 144. So I'm going to say that negative square root of 148 is approximately equal to 12, negative 12. Okay, so it's approximately equal to a negative 12. Okay. I separate those out a little bit. So when I look at this, okay, I know it's negative because I'm telling you it's negative. Here, it could be positive or negative. Okay. But remember, all you want to do is find what perfect squares it sits in between. Okay. Then I usually will write it in the middle, and then I want to determine, is it closer to 140, closer to this perfect square, or is it closer to this perfect square? All three examples have been closer to the first number, but that's not always going to be the case. Because what if I give you, say, a number, I want to know the square root of 33. Okay? Well, 33 sits between the square root of 25, right? And the square root of 36. Okay? Well, I know it's closer to 36, so I'm going to say the square root of 33 is approximately equal to 6, because it's closer to 36. And the square root of 36 is 6. Alright? And that's all this is. So make sure that this part of your notes is done, and if you are having some questions, make sure you write them down. Okay, make sure you go back in your notes and you get what steps, because remember when we solve this problem right here, okay, I wrote the steps down for you. Alright? So we need to make sure we get that done.